Have you ever wondered how a society determines what's right and wrong? We have laws in our country, and most countries do, but what determines if the laws are right or wrong? Back in 18th century BC, the Babylonian king Hammurabi was one of the first recorded to come up with some 282 laws in which he established as a standard for his society. Well, back a few years before that, Moses came down off Mount Sinai with 10 commandments, and that was established as a standard for right and wrong. How do we determine what the standard is? How do we determine if it's right for me or if it's wrong for you, or whether my right or wrong is the same as your right or wrong? Some people would say, well, if it's the law, it's got to be right. But let me hasten to mention that there have been some laws that have been overturned because they were not right. Well, if the Supreme Court determines it, but yeah, the Supreme Court changes its personnel, changes its mind over the years. Well, I just let my conscience be my guide, some might say. Well, you see, conscience is a tricky thing because it is only as good as whoever has trained it. Your conscience is basically nothing more than you believing what is right or wrong in your own mind, and whatever training you had in growing up determines what your conscience says is not acceptable. You see, if we were to build a house and we bring in all the subcontractors in, and maybe somebody's going to build the walls, somebody's going to run the electrical work, somebody's going to put in the plumbing, and somebody will put in the doors and windows, and how do we wind up with anything that is usable if there's no standard? Where does the kitchen sink go? How far along in that wall does that door set, or how high do the windows set off the floor, or where are the plug-ins and where do they are placed? See, unless we have a standard of measurement, this thing will look like a pretzel instead of a house. But we know that 12 inches make a foot. And an inch is not just a random choice about what I think it is today. It is a precise measurement that remains the same all the time. You see, if it's right or wrong, it's got to be based on truth. But then comes the question, what is truth? Pilate asked Jesus that when he was on trial. Jesus' statement in his prayer to his Father was, your word is truth. The only standard that can last throughout the ages is the Word of God. Our society has chosen to say that the Word of God is not our standard anymore, and we can't accept Christianity above any other religion, and therefore we are spiraling out of control because there is no standard of right and wrong. King Solomon would say in Proverbs 14:34, righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. Righteousness is the concept of being right, and that is based out of truth. And there's no way we can be right when we divorce ourselves from the truth of the Word of God. Here at the Church of Christ in Forestdale, we strive to hold on tightly to the truth, the Word of God. We live our lives by it because we believe it's the only thing that will last through time. We encourage you. Join with us. Come and worship with us on Sunday mornings. Follow us on the web at cocforestdale.org. And come and spend some time with us, joining in our effort to reach the world for Jesus Christ by letting people know and understand what truth is, the standard for our lives.